Hey, welcome back. Sorry I haven't been uploading much. I've been busy with a lot of family things. So, thought I'd give you an update on some hobby and makerspace projects that I'm working on. Let's start with the big scale slot cars. And this one's going to be focused on slot cars. I'm going to do a different video for gaming related projects. So, with the larger scale, I picked up some of these. These are 124 scale Hasegawa kits. And I had the bread van chassis. When bread vans were on sale pretty cheap, I picked them up. And I think I showed you this before, how easy it is to make a digital car. You just cut your chassis in half, and I just glue this brass square tubing in there to the correct wheelbase. And here's my car. I ruined the decals that came with it, so I had some flame decals off a Chevy pickup truck and I put on there. Inside there's some little brass standoffs, and so this goes right on here, and just like that, once you put the screws in, you've got a digital 124 race car. I got some lights in the back to hook up, and got an interior tray. The interior tray needed to be shortened a little bit, but these are actually pretty simple to do. And the bread van chassis is pretty versatile. Let me get this out of the way. I'm trying to keep an eye on what's on the camera. I don't want to talk and have something off camera. This is a bread van chassis. It's only been extended a little bit. This goes into a 69 AMX from Johan, or Johan. I don't know how you pronounce that. It has the, if you take the bread van chassis, comes with like a wire wheel insert, and you can just pop that out. And then in its place, you can put in whatever wheel insert your model kit came with. So I got these Krager Super Tricks on here because the kit that I'm building is like a Pro Street one. In the back, I replaced the axle with a 917 axle. I get a lot of my stuff from Carrera Slots. They have a pretty good selection of parts. So this is another chassis for a custom build. So that's for 124. I do have one thing to report on that I tested. For a long time, I was convinced that if you had a single drive rear axle, you would spin less. And I happened to come across this in a pile of junk from when my son was little. He has two of these. These are Mazda's radio-controlled cars from NKOK. You can get these on eBay now for just a couple bucks, especially used ones. And lo and behold, check this out. I don't know if you can see that, but the wheel is going in the opposite direction. It actually has a working differential in the back. So all I did was take the motor out and pop in a Carrera 132nd scale motor. It fit into the space where the radio-controlled motor went. Put in a digital chip, and I found some Paul Gauge tires that fit on. I had to take the hubcap insert out, but they fit on. And I was able to turn some laps. I even taped a little magnet back here to do some test runs with it. And you know, curiosity, it's good to have it satisfied. Now, I didn't even do anything up here. These wheels are just flopping back and forth. But it didn't really handle the corners any better. So I don't know, maybe my theory was wrong, but you know, I'm wrong more often than I should be. But yeah, this was something I was like, wow, if you could just have one wheel turn, you would be able to cut around corners and you wouldn't have that chatter, and you know, you wouldn't spin out wrong. It's okay. I mean, I just popped a little guide flag in the front. I don't know if you can see that. It's just a little guide flag. I just cut a hole in there and stuck the guide flag in there. And it's okay. I mean, I think it's not my absolute slowest car, but it's down there towards the bottom. But yeah, working differentials. If you want to get these on eBay and you want a working differential to play around with, there you go. Okay, so the other thing I've been working on is trying to figure out how to do 125th scale cars. We're going to start at the top and work down to the smaller scales. So this is a 125th scale car. Make a decent slot car. But the problem is that the tires and stuff from the bread vans, first of all, they're too gigantic. They won't even fit in the wheel wells. I don't know if you can see that. They're not going to fit. I don't know if I mentioned this before, but and the track is really wide also. So it's tough to get that to fit in there. Okay, I mean, unless you have the car jacked up on air shocks. And if you really look at what this particular car came with as far as tires go, check this out. This is the tire that came in this model kit. It's actually the same diameter as the 132nd scale NASCAR tires. So that's, you know, that's substantially different. I was actually thinking of trying to put this in as a chassis for this, but I got some plans and I'm working on some projects, and they may not pan out, but you know, I will report, good, bad, or indifferent, what the heck's going on here. So This is a kind of a crazy project. I taught myself how to, after some advice from a friend and watching some YouTube tutorials, how to mess around with, all right, I found it. This is a box that I've been working on stuff, and I've been taking some of the model car tires and making little molds out of them using some silicone from Hobby Lobby. And I actually have some urethane tires. So the plan is to use the 1/25th scale urethane tires and then try to make my own 3D printed chassis, design something on Rhino. I don't know. I don't I don't know if it would actually make a viable product to resell, but I can at least make my own. Now some of the components are kind of interesting because I need something for that tire to go on. Take a look at this rim. And then this is a pulley that I got, and it's a 2mm axle. It's a press fit. Now, this is beyond my capabilities to make a press fit, anything. Can't do it. It would be a waste of my time to try. But check this out. It fits in there perfectly. I mean, it has no room or give, and there's actually quite a few of them that are like this. So I'm thinking, if I design something to go around this real tight, that tire will fit on, then I can press fit that on there and have an axle. So that would give me the ability to sort of back. So that would give me the ability to make a hub of sorts, attach it to this axle, and there are other components that I can also press on. This is a 2mm axle. A lot of the motorized 1/24 scale kits that I've been getting, they have a 2mm axle, and they'll have little hubs like this. So see, this is already got a press fit 2mm axle on this particular car, this Thunderbird, but I was going to use that breadband chassis. But I think I can make something work with this. I think I can get something so that where I can use 1/25th scale tires, and I can use shorter axles, and I can make a simple 3D printed chassis. As far as making one on the plastic injection mold, I don't know if there's enough people scratch building 1/25th scale cars. What you need is a chassis that you could put some hardware into, and you need an interior tray, because I get really tired of having to have interior trays up. This is actually a chassis out of one of those motorized cars. I think this is a Fujimi. Now, where the battery is at, I picked up this motor. This motor is big and heavy. It's not like the small 1/32nd scale motors. This is like the 1/24 scale motors, 24,000 RPMs at 24 volts. So it should, the torque curve and everything looked very similar to the one in the Carrera. So once I put this together, I'm just going to put this motor where the battery thing went. And then back here, I'm going to use one of those 2mm axles and put a little crown gear in there. Got a gear for on there. I'm just going to snap it into the car, and away it goes. That's another slot car build. You may have noticed that I got like 400 projects going at any one time. Attention deficit disorder is a real challenge. So that's pretty much what I'm doing in the 1/24, 1/25th scale mode. So let's slide down to 1/32nd scale. Let me put this back in here. I try to keep the parts together for each of my projects. 1/32nd, boy, I've got a lot of crazy ideas and things going on. Obviously, you can buy chassis, and I have some Pioneer chassis in stock, and I'm going to obviously make cars that fit on the Pioneer chassis. This is a kit that I'm studying. I had one of these from before, and it fits on the Chevelle chassis perfectly. I think that the General Motors midsize 2-doors had a slightly shorter wheelbase than the 4-doors in the wagons. So this is accurately reflected in this kit. It'll fit on the Chevelle, but it won't fit on like the Charger. Here's a Pioneer Charger chassis, and I'm just going to cut a little section of it out like I did in the other one. I'm going to put that in there. But, I mean, I'm studying this kit, and I'm trying to figure out what to do. One of the things is that, look at the bottom of this kit here. It's got a little chassis, and it snaps on. It goes on here like this. So we're going to do a little study on design, because I'm trying to come up with ideas. And if you have any ideas, leave them in the comments, because I haven't had much time to work in the shop, but boy, have I had time to think. And that's a recipe for thinking your way into a box. So this is the bottom, and I have one of these designed in Rhino out in the shop, because I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to put a bottom with the top when I make a top, so that way it's versatile. It can go to two different groups of people. And then this is the interior pan. One of the neat things about this interior pan, see these little nubs on the side? That's where they put the ejector pin so that they don't have to put the pin on the surface. I use them too. They're pretty neat. But they put ejector pins right on the seat post where the seat's attached to. That's pretty clever because, you know, it looks like a post, which it is, but it's also a place where the ejector pin pushed out. Pretty, I mean, that looks pretty neat. So this is, the only problem is these are all too tall. So when you go to try to scratch build a slot car, you got to chop it off. And I'm going to show you the IMC. I've got it over here. And I did a whole video on the IMC, but we're going to do another video on that. Let me get this out of there. This is another piece that came in this kit. And you can see the way they did the tires. And I'm thinking, okay, I can do tires like this. I can do this and do this and put that in with a kit. Okay, so now all of a sudden, they got these little wheels. They just snap on. Okay, I can do this. But there's some issues with that. And there's some issues with that because it's less than desirable. The other thing about this kit, it came with peel and stick stickers instead of decals. So I have a 124 scale car of this type that I'm going to scan the judge decals and put on here and print them out myself. Really strange. It's a skeleton, but it's not white like bones would be. It's black. It's kind of neat. I don't know if I'll ever use that. And the fact that it's got a Cobra, that should be on maybe a Torino or a Mustang maybe. I don't know. But that'll be a neat sticker for a Torino or a Mustang. I might scan this too. Because every time I get decals or stickers, I try to scan them and just put them away in a box in case I ever need to print them with my laser printer on the decal paper. So here's one, you know, possible bottom type design. And it sort of begs the question, well, if you're... Let's take a look at the IMC here real quick because, okay, so we got the snap-on wheels and everything. You notice no chrome in this kit at all. No chrome. It's all just plastic. So, you know, and with the stickers, that is what it is. The IMC kit was more designed for converting to slot cars, but not completely. You know, it has the bottom on it. Let me see if I can get this unhooked out of here. Okay, it has the bottom on it, you know, again, just the bottom. But you see it's got the... it's got like an axle in there, and it's got these little press-on wheels. And the thing that's amazing is it's got these rubber tires, and they're still pretty neat little rubber tires. And it had some chrome on it, but this chrome is pretty thin. I touched the bumper a little too much trying to press it into place, and the green started to show through. So, yeah, the bumper's not the best. It wore off pretty quick. I'm gonna have to recoat that. So there's just a host of different things. But see how they did this. Now, to me, this is preferable. And this is way preferable because the driver pan is short enough that it can go over top a slot car motor and it has a driver in it. Now, there's not a lot of detail in here, obviously, but this is better than the other one if you're going to build it. And it doesn't really lower its value as a static build to me, you know. So I prefer this. This is pretty nice. I did try to do some work. I don't know if you saw the other video, but this came out of the box ruined after I spent well, not a fortune, but a pretty penny on eBay. And it was in shrink and everything like that. But so, okay, so here's an issue. We got rubber tires, you got wheels. And as I explained before, doing the press fit on the axles is beyond my capabilities. I can't do that. I can, however, make a wheel that will attach to this. And then use this as the press fit part, and then make a hubcap for the outside of that. One of the neat things about this, the size of this thing is perfect for the Pioneer tires. Just like that. So if I made just the other side of it, just the outside, I could have a, you know, a press fit or whatever. So yeah, this is preferable. I mean, this is something that I'm looking at making. But here you go. It's kind of like when you go to buy a truck and you're thinking, I just need a basic truck with a manual shift and wind-up windows, and I don't need any of the bells and whistles. And you leave with the T-Rex, and you're thinking, what happened? Well, you hit the slippery slope and you went downhill pretty fast, because that's what typically happens. Let me get another piece to show you. I hope I'm not getting things too cluttered up. I'm a pretty cluttery person. So this is a bare Pioneer chassis right here. And what I'm thinking is, okay, well, if they were going to make this for slot cars, I'm wondering, would it have really hurt them to put a little loop in the front like this with a hole in it right up here? So if someone wanted to put a guide flag in it, they could. And maybe include a little section here, so if you wanted to put a motor, you'd have a place to put a motor. So this is the slippery slope. I'm thinking, maybe I should try to make the bottom a little more like this and a little like this to sort of combine the two. But There's some other issues. I'm probably gonna have to go with these plastic wheels. There's some plastic wheels here from a kit that there's several kits that just use plastic wheels. The rubber wheels are going to be difficult. I mean, that's a whole, that's a whole nother thing to look into. Compression molding. I've had some pretty good luck looking into that, but it's just another one of those things that it's a distraction and takes you away. And I mean, I wouldn't expect to build something that you can race. I mean, unless you really, really wanted to do some work to it, because I do have the Pioneer chassis to provide. I don't know if I can get any more of these. My last several emails went unanswered. So I seem to get that a lot. I'm not sure what happened, but I do have some in stock for now. But I'm thinking of trying to make a model kit that's easy to convert to a slot car kit. And if if you really want to make an art and quality runner, I might be able to source the parts for that. And let me explain to you one little source that was kind of neat. I'm going to put a picture up on the screen of a die-cast car. And this is a 1/32 scale die-cast pullback car with lights and sound. The wheels fit perfectly under the Cyclone model. The wheelbase is perfect, the size is perfect. They're about an 18-inch wheel scale-wise. Tore it apart, and check this out. These are the wheels that came with it. They're nice. They're press-on 2mm axle wheels, and it's a little pullback car. You pull back and it goes, but it has these rubber tires on it. I was like, wow, that's kind of interesting because it's a Carrera NASCAR, and the tire kind of fits on there. It doesn't fit perfectly, but if you fiddle around with it a little bit, you can get it on there. I thought, wow, that's pretty similar in size there. So I took these tires and I thought, I wonder what kind of grip they had. Here's these tires mounted on this Carrera Digital Mustang right here. These are the tires off of that die-cast car, right? They don't fit exactly, but they fit good enough. Actually, this hub looks like it's loose. The tire's a little bit loose, but so they don't fit exactly, but they fit close enough. And I was able to turn better lap times with these than I did with the Carrera tires. This car is not the greatest performer in the world because it has a pretty high center of gravity. It wants to tip. But this is now my fastest Mustang with these die-cast tires. So this is the Carrera tires in the front. These are the die-cast tires in the back. So you can take a look and see what they look like. So I thought, wow, if I could get hold of some of these tires, that'd be great. But I can't get hold of some of these tires. Yeah, you can't get hold of them. I tried, and if anyone has a contact to a die-cast manufacturer and they have like a bucket of tires they're throwing away, this will be nice because that's a pretty nice wheel. So that's one thing I pursued, but it's looking like I'm going to have to put the plastic wheels on. Check this out, this Carrera car right here. I just got out of the shelf to do this video and use it as a prop, and check it out. She got the flat already. I don't know if you can see it, but she's flat. So there's another set of tires that are going to be needed. I don't understand why they don't do something about their tire formulation. It's not a big deal. You can usually get rear tires, but sometimes getting front tires, if you buy front and rear tires on it, the car is not quite as cheap as you thought it was. So there we are with that. So, let me just show you something else too. I've been looking into chrome plating. Boy, is that is a whole bucket of worms there. But I do prefer cars with chrome plated. This is the same section of sprue from the same model kit. It's a 124 Cobra. I don't know if you can see that. This just looks like it's been painted with that aluminum paint you buy, right? And this is much more chrome plated. So I don't understand that. That's kind of peculiar. But I did some investigating. I wanted to cover one last thing, and I might put a little clip in here of some unboxing. Notchback Mustang. I believe it's about a 67 or 68. The case on the bottom, chassis, ready to run. And really nice wheels, Goodyear tires. The body on Pioneer cars is beyond amazing. I mean, the work that they do on their plastics, it's very thin. I'm typically familiar with pretty much only 3 brands. Scalextric, which I generally don't like as much. Carrera, which I buy a lot of because we were on Carrera Digital. And Carrera cars are very heavy built. They're tough. There's much less finesse to the design of it. This
this is a work of art here. There's no two ways about it. So we're going to take this car, and this is typical of what, you know, an average blue collar kid working a part-time job would have been able to afford back in, the 80s. It's got a little bit of a flare to the fenders back here, which wasn't unusual for someone to try to put some Bondo and flare their tires out a little bit for street use. It has this in the back. I'm going to cut that off and then fill that in. Um, so yeah, we're going to try to build this. And first step I'm going to do is glue these panels on, because these are the parts that are going to be washed and then painted. So
Speaking of paint, I've had a lot of problems with paint. I don't know if you follow my blog or anything like that. I mean, it's just had me frustrated. I want to show you a new trick I found. It's my new go-to paint, Ace. They had it on sale the other day. I was in there. Uh, I was just beating my head against the wall, frustrated with Rust-Oleum for all the cars I got rid of. So I went and got some of this Ace Premium paint. It went on, and I was like, wow, that paint is absolute crap, because it looked completely milky white. It had no shine at all. This paint is very sensitive to humidity. But you know what? I hit it with a little bit of hairdryer heat, and it just shined up like crazy. And then I put a clear coat on top of it. No worries, no worries. So, all right, this is the finished result of the Mustang. I did some changes to it, but I made it into a street car. These are really nice kits. I'm not going to diss them at all, because this is like 9,000th level compared to anything that I could ever make. The Pioneer stuff is the best quality plastic and fit and stuff like that you could ever imagine. But I'm going to give a little bit of a critique here and there. So, but yeah, this is my Mustang, street Mustang. It's kind of finished, and it's ready to go. And I put the digital chip in the bottom with the little Carrera door. And this is the Camaro that I'm painting. The same Ace paint hit with a hairdryer. It's easy peasy, really. But here's my critique of these cars. And you can disagree, whatever. I mean, everybody does it. We race our cars pretty good. This car won't stand up. These mirrors will be gone in seconds. They won't last a race with the people that I race against, or even with me, right? I want to show you the rear bumper. I laid it around here somewhere. Here's the rear bumper. I don't know if you can see the pins that are in there. Let me move this out of the way. There's a little pin here and a little pin there. Those two little tiny pins right on the end there, right inside my fingers. There's these two little tiny pins. That's what's going to hold that bumper on. It's going to be ripped off instantly. The front spoiler for the Mustang. Let me get this out right here. It's supposed to go down here. Okay. Yeah, can you see this? It's supposed to go down there. Look at the little pins that are on there. That's not going to last a wreck. So my only criticism of this particular cars, they're fantastic. Like, for example, the Camaro came with multiple hoods, like I said in the video where I was explaining it. And, they look really good. They have a nice chassis. They run well. I'm just not sure how much of a beating they can take. So maybe I should just drive better. I don't know. But I'm concerned about parts breaking off and just not being very robust. So if I'm designing something, I'm going to try to make it so that it can, withstand my granddaughters. One other peculiar thing about the Pioneer stuff is the Model glue doesn't seem to work. This plate's supposed to be flat, and I glued it in here with Model glue. And then I came back to it later, and it had swelled up, right? See this? It swelled up and burst open. It didn't hold. Like, typically the glue will melt the plastic and the two parts will weld together. It didn't do that. It formed a layer in there, like a crunchy layer. And so I don't think you should use Model glue. So I'm not going to use Model glue on them anymore. But yeah, it's very peculiar. It warped this piece. Just, from being glued together. You can see right there. There's a gap. So maybe don't use Model glue if you're going to put them together. Okay, one last design consideration that I'm thinking about. Like I said, I'm working on some things. Things are supposed to go down here in January, and then I should be back in the shop freezing my butt off, but I'll at least be in the shop. This is a Revell 132 Firebird, and it's made out of a really flimsy plastic. And I had this when I was a kid. I mean, just a little kid. You know, I was actually a little kid at one time. Um, and it's been beat to pieces. I even tried to paint it with a brush orange at one time. But I love this design. The chassis bolted to this, and this slipped in here. And so you could put any car on it you wanted to. So this one little thing, because the chassis bolted to this, you could put any 132 car just on this. Somebody needs to invent something like this. A chassis that you bolt the driver tray to, and then you're like, oh, I found a car. Boom, you pop it on, you're done. You know? You find a different car, like this GTO over here. And you're like, well, I found this GTO. I want to make a slot car out of it. Boom, you're done. You got your chassis underneath. You got your driver inside. This really needs to become a product. But I don't have the ability at this time to make a chassis. I mean, maybe someday I might. I don't know. Hopefully I can still provide Pioneer chassis for people. Or if not, I'm at least going to do something like this. Maybe with plastic wheels. If I can get rubber wheels, I'll do that. I'll get the rubber wheels from that die-cast car, or a different die-cast car maybe. But if not, I'm going to do something like this with plastic wheels and a short driver tray, and boom. As far as chrome goes, that's a whole nother beast there. It's a pretty major investment to get the equipment. I did find a place that will do it. I need to figure out the whole logistics of everything with that. Chrome might be out of my reach. And in fact, I mean, I have a lot of kits that don't come with chrome. I like chrome parts a lot. It's curious. This Pioneer, I got the Camaro and the Mustang. The Camaro came with chrome parts. The Mustang came with other parts. So I took the chrome parts off of a Carrera Mustang and glued them on. They fit, the rear bumper and stuff fit pretty good. And then I put the wipers on too. So, but I think the Mustang was more designed as a race car, whereas the Camaro could be race or street, because the Camaro came with two trunk lids, one without the fuel filler door. The Mustang only came with the fuel filler door. So this kit is primarily just for a race, which they didn't have the chrome bumpers as much. They would paint them. So that's probably why this didn't come with chrome bumpers. I converted it to street, and then this could be built. I think the Camaro is a really good kit and he's very clever. I mean, I love watching how somebody designs something and coming up with their ideas. Like, the only difference with the Camaro from 67 to 68 was the vent windows. The only real, noticeable difference. So he put the vent windows on the windshield. So this is a 67 windshield. It has a little vent window in the front. So when you put it in, you have a 67 Camaro. But if you put the other windshield in, you have a 68 Camaro. And then the hoods are slightly different. I think the 67s had these vents. I'm not sure if they had them in 68. This is a Rally Sport. I put the Rally Sport grill in it because I just like that grill. I mean, I really like lit up slot cars, but I was willing to sacrifice that just to have a Rally Sport grill. So that's what I've been working on with slot car related stuff. And you can see I'm all over the place with a whole bunch of different ideas. Yeah, if you have any ideas that you want to leave a comment, or you can contact me by email on what to do about this or this. Or this. Because something's got to be made to go in the bottom of that. To go in the bottom of any bodies. And it's the same amount of plastic. It's the same amount of metal to make the mold. I'm just looking at like, what? Cheapest and easiest. Better, because you got nice wheels and rubber tires on it. Even better if it can roll like this, but also have maybe a socket in the front for a guide flag, and maybe a little spot you can slip a motor in if you really wanted to. That would be perfect. So, all right, that's that. I'm going to edit this video and get it uploaded, and then I'm going to shoot a real short video on what I've been pondering with gaming stuff. That's a whole nother can of worms there. So, all right, guys, have a good one. Thanks for watching.